What is the secret to success in business? Today we're going to talk about that and a whole lot more. Welcome to another episode of the Jim Roman Show, where we talk about how to build a better business to build a better life. I'm Jim Roman, your host, and I want to welcome you to our live. I'm super excited about this episode because I'm going to be sharing with you how I cracked the code to business success. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been studying what causes business to succeed, but I've also studied to see what causes business to fail. And if you know my story, I started my first business in 1993, and within 2 years, I went broke and bankrupt. And I think that was one of my biggest lessons in business, that it helped me to be successful for where I'm today. And today I want to share with you some of those insights and ahas that I've discovered and uncovered over the years, working with thousands of businesses, having many mentors to help me get me where I am today. For those of you, this is your first time to one of our episodes, we want to welcome you. Typically how these go is I speak for 10 to 20 minutes on a particular topic. I finish up and then I answer questions and answers in the comments. So feel free to comment below, whether you're watching this live or recorded. I check and read these comments regularly. As always, if we do not cover the topic that will help you with your business, please reach out to me by using Messenger or email me at questions@askjimroman.com. Again, that's questions@askjimroman.com. So let's jump into today's episode on what causes businesses to succeed, but more importantly, what causes them to fail. I'm going to share some of the secrets that I've uncovered and discovered over the last 20 years. Number one of the first things that I've learned to help people build a better business, to build a better life, are the 9 stages to business ownership. You've had me talk about that before. We just did an episode on this very topic, as well as we wrote a blog at jimromanonline.com, the blog. I'm super excited to say our first ever ebook has come out on this very topic. So I won't take the time to go over the 9 stages of business ownership. All I'll say about the 9 stages of business ownership is that in the beginning stages of running and managing a business, the business owns you. In the later stages, you own it or you run it. And so the key to success I have found is understanding what stage of business you're in will determine what problems you'll face, and then you can solve for those problems. So again, one of the concepts I have uncovered and discovered, was introduced to, is the 9 stages of business ownership. Does your business own you, or do you own it? A couple years later, I come across another concept that I uncovered and discovered, and that was creating a balanced business. This is probably one of my biggest findings in the 20 years of studying business and being in business that I felt that was huge. One day, the Spirit led me to just figure out what causes business to succeed. So I went to my bookshelf, I pulled all the books off my bookshelf, and I started to write down the table of contents. And so in writing down the table of contents, I realized if you read this book, the secret to success is X. If you read this book, the secret to success is Y, and so on. And I uncovered 28 things it takes to be successful in business, some key components. And I was looking at the list and I was just saying 28 items. That's very overwhelming. So I started looking at them even further, and I noticed that this was sales related, and this was leadership related, and this was people related. And ultimately, it came down to 8 elements, 8 key components to running a successful business. And I was like, wow. In fact, I created an assessment called the balanced analysis to see if this theory, this discovery I discovered, had any relevance, and come to find out it did. Well, those 8 elements I turned into an acronym that stands for BALANCED, BALANCED. And I just did a video on that very topic with an introduction of the 9 stages, but really going into what balance is and what each letter stands for. So if you want to check that out, you can go to my YouTube channel. I just posted it, and you can read about how balanced is your business is the title of that recording. I am going to talk about next week, in next week's episode, the books that go to balance. In other words, how I uncovered it by looking at all the books that I'm referencing here. I'm going to go through each book, through each letter, BALANCED, and the books that I read to prove this process. Well, I told you to create an assessment out of it. And so I was doing a mastermind with a bunch of my clients, and I turned this assessment out, and I had everyone take the assessment. I'm feeling pretty proud because I came up with this assessment. And everyone did the math and figured out how balanced their business was. If it was not balanced, like a car, When the car's not balanced, you're not going to get where you want to go in a timely, efficient, effective manner. When your car is balanced, then you're more likely to get there faster, quicker, and better. Well, one of the participants in the mastermind said, Jim, now that I did my balanced analysis assessment, what do I do now? And I'm thinking, you're in a mastermind, you're doing it now. No, what do I do now? And I was scratching my head, like, what did they mean by this? And someone in the room said, he means, what order do you work on the balance? Do you do B first, A first, L, and so on? I was like, that's a great question, I don't know. So I had to go back to the drawing board and figure out, if I was starting a business, how would I go about creating a more balanced business so I can have a more balanced life? By having a balanced business, I can make more money, make more of a difference in the world. And so that's for another episode on what order do you do the balanced. That's our model, our business model around how we help companies go from micro to millions. Because what we did is we took the balanced model, I went back to the drawing board and thinking, okay, so what can I do? Okay, so what would I do first, second, third, fourth, and fifth? And I think I got it. So I started taking people through this process of balanced business in the particular order that I would do it based on what I know about the 9 stages of business. And next thing you know it, no lie, people started hitting $1 million or more in revenue. The first company we were working with was an IT company. They were doing about $680,000 of revenue, took them through the balanced process. Next thing you know it, over time, 1.1 million. I was like, that's crazy. Well, one of my original clients from 15 years ago said to me, hey, Jim, I hear you help companies get to $1 million or more. I'm like, well, actually, I do. He goes, well, I'm at $700,000. Can you help me? I go, I don't know. I always offer a free 45-minute consultation coaching session. Let's sit down and see if I can help you. Because again, I remember when he first started a landscaping business. Now it's a super successful hardscaping business. And so I'm sitting down with him. Come to find out, I know we could help. We took him through the balanced approach to building a better business, to go from micro to millions. And next thing you know it, last I heard, was at $3 million in business. We've helped over a dozen people, a dozen companies go to $1 million or more. And I don't care if you're going to $1 million or $500,000 or $250,000, the principles still apply. The purpose of this is I really wanted to share with you is that the understanding business is not as hard as we make it out to be. I know they don't teach what we talk about in school, but there are great ways to figure that out. A lot of that comes from the books that I'll be referencing in my episode next week on what books I would read if I were you to go from micro to millions, whether you're going to $250,000, $500,000, or $1 million or more. I think these principles apply. In fact, that leads to the third aha or insight, is that size does matter. The size of your company matters on what you work on next. What I found out, and I was sharing with one of my team members the other day about, we cracked the code. We cracked the code that if you're at $250,000 of business or less, say 200,000 or less, there are certain things you should be working on. Versus if you're at $500,000, you're not having the same challenges of $250,000 business. You're having different challenges at $500,000. And then again, $1 million or more, you have new challenges that you face. And that's where the 9 stages come in. Starting at stage 1 all the way up to stage 9, you're facing challenges as you're going up that mountain. And again, if you want to get a copy of our 9 stages brand new ebook, it can tell you all about that in detail. But what I want to talk about is this third thing, that size does matter, understanding what size on what you work on. I'll give you an example. So let's just work our way from $1 million company down to a micro company. So one day I was having a cup of coffee, doing my devotional, reading my Bible verses, and this aha came to me, this thought came to me that was, Jim, how did you help companies get to $1 million or more in revenue? Other than the balance process and knowing what order to work on, I realized that what helped me get that IT company from $700,000 or $680,000 in revenue to $1 million or more was what we did is we got a number 2 to think like number 1. We got a number 2 in place. And I was like, got a number 2 in place. In other words, we got another person in place to help manage and run the company, so it would free up some of the time for the owner to do the things that were most important. And I said, I guess we did do that. Then I got to thinking, what did we do to help that hardscaping company go to $3 million or more in revenue? Got to thinking is that we got him a number 3. In other words, we got the number 1 to have a number 2, and the number 2 to get a number 3, and so the 2 and 3 could run the business better, again, freeing the owner up to do what he or she needs to do. And I was just like, wow. And so I got super excited about, I want to create a class, a course, a program, a curriculum around getting number twos to think like number ones. If you know my purpose and passion around small business is to help the business get a life beyond the business. Get a life beyond the business. And one of the ways of doing that up is getting things off your plate, getting other people to do the work, freeing you up to do other things that are important beyond the business or actually in the business. So let me repeat that again. What we did to help people get to $1 million or more is in the $3 million case, we got him a number 2 and a number 3. In the $1 million case, from 700 to 1 million, we got a number 2 to think like number 1. In fact, I was so passionate about this topic, I had one of my team members help me put together our latest blog. If you go to Jim Roman Online /blog, click on the blog link. We just released an article on how to get your number 2 to think like number 1. And if you're a micro business and you're nowhere near $1 million, it still applies getting yourself a number 2. I always say don't be a Lone Ranger, because Lone Ranger didn't do it alone. He had Tonto and he had Silver. So don't be a Lone Ranger. Always get somebody to work with you, whether it's an employee, an independent contractor, or someone like that. It makes the biggest difference. So if I were $1 million or more company, maybe 1 million to 3 million, one of the things I'd be asking myself is, do I have the right people in place and the right processes in place for them to follow? In my experience, what gets people stuck at 1 million, not getting to 3 million, and 3 million not getting to 5 million, is the people and processes that you have in place. It determines how much time you spend in your business versus working on your business. In other words, I tend to ask companies, if you were to stop working today, how long will your business run itself? Again, let me ask that question again. I'm truly asking that question. Is if you were to stop working today in your business, how long would it run itself? 2 minutes, if you're lucky. 2 weeks, if you're fortunate. 2 months, if you built it properly. A lot of times people says it wouldn't run, Jim. And if it did, it wouldn't grow without me. Well, that's one of the things I would be working on if I was $1 million to $3 million company, is how do I free me up from the business? And that's a whole nother conversation, a whole nother episode on that very topic. But I encourage you to really read the blog, Getting Your Number 2 to Think Like Number 1. So let's back up to $500,000. What I find in the $500,000 range, a lot of times people don't have any time and they don't have any money. They're strapped for time and money in most cases because they went from $250,000 where they were starting to make money. Right, when you get to $250,000 in revenue in certain industries, you start to make some good money. 300,000, you're making a lot more money. You're about stage 4, 5. And then when you get to $500,000, you start to get stalled. You get stalled in $500,000 because you didn't put the proper people in place. In other words, you kept the people that got you where you were today, but those people may not get you where you want to go in the future. In other words, those are people you could afford versus now you need to reinvest into better people, better processes. And so if I were $500,000 in business, I'd be really asking myself, what can I do to better my people or get better people? And to do that, I might have to make more money by getting into front of the right type of people in my target market that not only need or want my services, but willing to buy at the level I need them to buy. In other words, you need to increase your average sale in most cases at the $500,000 mark to get to $1 million mark, to get beyond that mountain you get stuck on. And then finally, if you're $250,000 or less, what should you be focusing in on? Just like in other cases, getting yourself a number 2, right? Getting yourself support and systems in place. Get yourself an assistant, $250,000 or more. I don't care if you're, I think at $130,000 in revenue, in most cases, unless you're a lifestyle business, $100,000 in revenue or more, you should be strongly considering, probably even sooner than that, an assistant, even if it's a part-time assistant. And most people fight that because they say they can't afford it. And I'm going to argue you can't afford not to get that person. And I'll give you an example of that. I've told this to you before in previous episodes. For me, I'll give you the journey of what I've gone on from going from micro to millions dollar process. When I first started this business 15 years ago, I was the business, right? And by me being the business, doing all things in the business, I could only get so big. And let's just say, for argument's sake, I was doing on average $3,000 a month 15 years ago. And I was doing $3,000 regularly, consistently, which is not bad in the coaching business. The average person probably doesn't make that kind of money, but I was doing well. I was fortunate. But I got stuck at $3,000. It wasn't until I got a part-time assistant that I started to go to $4,000. And then I got a part-time coach, was able to go to $5,000. Then I lost my assistant, went down to sort of $4,500. And then I got another assistant, and then I got a full-time coach. And as I got more people on board to do more of the work that I couldn't get to or didn't want to do, that's when I started to grow. Fast forward 15 years later, today, who do I have on my staff? I have a fractional accountant, CPA, who does my bookkeeping and accounting. She is a contractor. She has her own business. I hire her to be able to handle those kind of things so I don't have to deal with my accounting and bookkeeping. That being said, I still look at it every single month, and I'm still accountable for the results. So I just don't delegate it, abdicate it, and not worry about it. I also have an assistant, my assistant, Tessa. My assistant, she helps me manage my schedule. She takes care of my client care notes. So after a coaching client, she'll type up my notes to make sure that we keep track of our clients' goals and results and making sure we stay moving forward. She also handles my e-newsletter. So you'll get my newsletter from time to time. She helps me put that together. And because I don't have the time to put that together. I don't have time to format in Constant Contact. And so what I love about this, and I just hired her a year ago, to be honest with you, when I moved to Orlando, Florida, because I didn't have the time to manage my schedule. You know what it took me to schedule appointments? It took me days to schedule. I sent a bunch of emails saying, hey, I need to get together with you. Let's schedule it. And they said, what's good for you? What's good for me? Back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth. And I needed to do something about it. So first thing I did is invest it in the software Calendly. You've heard me talk about this software. I love Calendly. There's other softwares like that. It's real simple. You send a link out. Within 24 hours, they're scheduled. Nothing else to do. My assistant manages that to make sure that everyone's scheduled at the right time, at the right location. And then my client care notes. So those are the things that would take me literally 1, 2, possibly 3 hours a week. 3 hours a week. For the amount of money that I pay for her to do that, it's the best investment ever. I'm not losing money. I'm actually making money because it frees me up to do other things. The third person on my team is my communications director, the queen of content, Sarah Fight from Richmond, Virginia. She is an amazing writer. And she helps me create the blogs that you'll see. You'll see the introductions to videos like this. She helps me to be able to do all of those things. And all the classes and courses that we create, curriculums that we create for our clients, she helps me with that as well. I used to do all of that with one of my associates, and we would spend days, if not weeks, on creating those classes and courses and programs where I give it to Sarah, and within hours, if not days, she turns it around better than I could have ever expected, better than I could have ever done, even though I have a publishing background. And so that is a phenomenal investment. She is a little bit more expensive than most people, but she does such quality work in a timely manner that I think it's, again, priceless. And I can go on and on and on with my entire team, but I just wanted to share with you as an example, in the beginning in building this coaching business, I got myself a part-time assistant. And then as we started to grow, I started partnering with other coaches to help me do some of the coaching. Kay Condon with Mark Excellence is one of those people. Kathy Roman with Canvas Consulting is another one of those people that I partner with them to help me serve my clients at a higher level. So now fast forward, we have 5 coaches that we work with to help our clients, again, through the micro to millions process. What's my point in all of this is whether I'm at $1 million, $500,000, or $250,000 or less, you don't want to do this alone. You want to understand how business works, how business succeeds, and how business fails. And that's through the 9 stages. Having a more balanced business, reading about the right things at the right time, at the right stage makes the biggest difference. And I'll talk about, again, these books in next week's episode. And then finally, letting go to grow. You got to let go to grow. If you want to have a true life and you don't want just have a job, figure out a way to get systems and support, whether it's through softwares like Calendly or Constant Contact, or part-time assistance through Upworks and Fiverr, or actually using staffing firms that can help you to get these types of people. I believe it's going to make the biggest difference. This is a very important topic to me because you hear me say every single week, build a better business to build a better life. And I decided going forward, I want to get into the meat of the matter. I want to share my secrets. I want to tell you what we're doing to get someone from $500,000 to $600,000 revenue. How we got somebody from $100,000 revenue to just $200,000 revenue. But I need you to let me know what are the type of topics you want us to cover. More importantly, what are the challenges? If you wouldn't mind in the comments below, put the challenges that you're facing, or email me or message me your challenges, and I will cover those in future episodes. In fact, we have a special treat. I should have told you before, is I've had people, I just had some questions sent in to me today, or this week, in regards to some questions that people want to ask. So I'm going to finish up this episode just to recap what we talked about and then go into specific questions that have come across my desk. My commitment to you is to build a better business, to build a better life. And to do that is to understand some of the secrets to business success. Number one is knowing the 9 stages and how they affect you personally, professionally, and financially. Number two, understanding how balanced a business needs to be able to get you where you want to go. And third, understanding the challenges come with the size of the company that you are. Again, if you're $100,000, you're going to have different challenges than someone who's at $700,000. If you're $1 million, you're going to have different challenges than people at $3 million in revenue. And understanding how that works makes the biggest difference. So again, I want to thank you for joining us in this episode. Please email us, message us, more of your information. As always, I'm Jim Roman. The more you know, the more you grow. So for those of you who are sticking around for the second part of this, this is where we do the questions and answers, where I look through the comments and see what are some of the questions that you have. Again, thank you for joining us today. But just some of the bonus questions that came across my desk are as follows. Number one, one of the questions that came across, what do I mean when I say crack the code? Now, we talked a little bit about that in this episode. But again, when I talked about the crack the code part of it was, there's a lot of business coaches out there that are good at leadership, and they think leadership is the solution to all problems in business. Or if they're a sales coach, a lot of times people will say, sales solves all problems. And then if you're a finance person, finance solves all problems. And the answer is yes, they solve a lot of problems, but not all problems. And that's where the 8 elements, the balanced elements to business will solve those problems, understanding what element you work on based on what size. So cracking the code for me was the size of your company, whether it's the number of employees or the revenue related, those make a big difference on what you need to work on. For example, again, $250,000 in revenue needs to be focusing on the right types of sales. Usually the smaller businesses aren't making enough money to pay their bills. They're not enough to be able to pay themselves, and they don't have enough money to pay for people. Where the medium-sized companies, they have money, but their biggest challenge in the medium-sized companies is getting the work done. Getting the work done by others and getting the work done without them being involved tend to be their challenges. And then the larger companies, their biggest challenge is getting their people to follow the processes, having the processes allow the people to perform, and ultimately having the people and processes in place so that they can be freed up from the business to have a life, to enjoy other things, to enjoy the fruits of their labors. So cracking the code makes the biggest difference in the sense of based on size. Again, small, they don't have enough money to pay themselves, their people, or have the people. Medium size, they don't have getting the work done by others. And then the bigger businesses, getting the work done by others, performing at a level so that you can free yourself from your business. Next question is in the comments. You talk about hiring an assistant. I have a unique set of talents, qualifications, skills, and ways of thinking. My clients hire me. I don't know how I could hire someone to do that. What would I suggest? Great question. So this is a tricky answer because I've answered this I don't know how many times now. So people are hiring you. If you set up your business model that way, then yes, you're right. It's going to be difficult in hiring somebody. But then what you can do to transition out of them hiring you, they're hiring you and your system. So I built this business under the Jim Roman brand. It used to be Jim Roman Associates. It's now Jim Roman Speaker, Trainer, Coach. But we have a process called the Micro to Millions process using the balanced methodology. And it works so well that my coaches can deliver on that. For example, Tony Robbins was Tony Robbins forever. Now Tony Robbins has certified Tony Robbins coaches. Dave Ramsey has certified David Ramsey coaches. And so one of the ways to be able to do that, if you are the brand in the business, is figure out how to flip that such that you are the brand in the business, but you have a philosophy, approach, a process that you can take people through, and then creating certified business coaches or certified business people around that. Or another way of saying that, depending on what industries you don't have coaches, is having specialists. I was talking to somebody recently in the real estate industry. They're the realtor, they're the company, they're the brand. And I shared with them if they're going to go to the next level and be able to sell 12 houses a year, 24 houses a year, they can't do it alone. So they're going to want to get a buyer's agent. They're going to get somebody who's a listing agent, and they're going to want a transaction coordinator. And when it gets to the point where you need a buyer's agent, you would say to the homeowners or future homeowners, I have someone on my team who specializes with buyers. It's called my buyer's agent. And let me tell you why they're such a great buyer's agent. And so that is a way to sort of spin that. differently. Now, if you're really talking about how do I hire somebody, have them do it the way I want it done, well, that's another conversation in and of itself. Let's talk about that. So if you're hiring somebody and you want to do it exactly the way you do it, then you're done. You mean you might as well just throw in the towel, because all due respect, no offense, you're not the best person to do it. You're telling me you're the only person in the entire world who can do it perfectly. And you know that's ridiculous. That's not true, but you think that to some extent, that I want it done a certain way. I think you want it done a way that gets the result that you want. You know, my assistant does not do what she does the way I do it. In fact, she does it better than the way I do it. In fact, she does it faster than the way I do it, because she knows what she's doing, she loves what she's doing, and she gets it done. My communications director does not do what I do the way I would do it. I'm so glad that she doesn't do it the way I do it, because she's a brilliant writer. She's able to take a concept that I share with her and turn it and bring it to life. So if I'm going to get an assistant, I would, again, create a job description, a development plan, and accountability checklist to hold them accountable to the task at hand. But at the same time, I would want to understand if I can break down that role or position that I'm doing in the bite-sized pieces. For example, if I'm going to hire a property manager, I might have them be an assistant property manager first, and then a property manager in training before I make them an official property manager. Why? It gives them a career track, a success track to win. In other words, if they start out as assistant property manager, just learning the position or learning the way you would want that position to be done. When they become a property manager in training, now they realize they've moved up, they've elevated, maybe made a little bit more money, and they're getting that pat on the back, that reward, that recognition. Then officially, when they become a property manager, that's an official title. There are certain responsibilities that's expected. In fact, in that level, you should be able to set it and forget them for the most part, other than checking in with them from time to time to reward them, appreciate them, and serve them. And then you can go a fourth level to senior property manager. What we take our clients through a senior property management perspective is getting that person starting to be developed as a number 2 to be able to help out the number 1. So the number 1, the broker owner, doesn't have to worry about manage all of it themselves, at least emotionally and physically. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that is a big topic in and of itself. If I guess the really true answer is you got to want to let go to grow. You have to understand there's different ways of doing the same thing but getting better results, and then breaking it down into bite-sized pieces so your people can win. Cool. Next question. In my experience, what are the 3 most consistent characteristics of a successful business person? Ooh, this is 3. I don't know if I can narrow it down to 3, but I'll do my best. So some of the characteristics of the most successful business people that I have seen is, in no particular order per se, is having a purpose and passion behind their product and service. The most successful people that I know have a purpose and passion for their product and service. They want to make a difference for somebody. They're not in it for just the money. In fact, the people that I know that are in it for the money tend to go broke or burn out because they have this, in my opinion, a smaller goal than a bigger goal. So one of the first characteristics is having a purpose and passion. The second characteristics is they never stop learning. They never stop learning. I can't tell you how thankful and blessed I am to be able to read from authors like this on various topics from, again, creating a more balanced business. And so never stop learning. Getting a coach or a mentor. I am where I am today. This is huge. I am where I'm at today because I've had mentors over the years. That's it, period. In fact, it's an interesting thing. I don't know if you know Napoleon Hill. He wrote the book Think and Grow Rich. And people quote this book all the time, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. But have you ever read Napoleon Hill's autobiography? I have. And the funny thing is, if you read it like I read it as a middle child who's got ripped off as a younger kid, I'm kidding, I read it to read between the lines. And if you read Napoleon Hill's autobiography and about his success, he was successful. The years that he had a partner in place, he was super successful. And every time he thought to go out on his own, he failed miserably, probably more miserably than most people. And I don't think many people know about Napoleon Hill's his own story. He wrote the book Think and Grow Rich, but his own failures and success were based on mentors. And I can look to my own successes because I track my years, year after year after year. And every year that I had a mentor, I had super successful years. And when I didn't have a mentor, I didn't do as well. To this very, very, very day. That's why I always want to have a mentor or a coach to guide me or to at least put me back on track if I go off track. So a coach is great to see if you're off track. Sometimes you don't find out you're off the path until it's too late. And then you're in the middle of the woods and you're going, oh my God, I'm lost. I'm lost. Which, by the way, is a great metaphor. Just want to say. So that's what I would be doing if it were me. Again, so the traits would be purpose and passion behind the product and service, beyond money. Number 2, never stop learning. Number 3, have a mentor or a coach. And I think number 5 is some of the principles I'm sharing with you. The principles I'm sharing with you for the companies we help become more successful. Those who were already successful became more successful is applying the principles I've said in this episode. In fact, we have a free course called Start Here, where I give you the Micro to Millions tools you may not know about. If you go to my site, you can actually look into the Micro to Millions toolkit. It's called the M2M Tools, and it's called the Start Here course. And it's some videos that I shot not too long ago about these principles. And I'll give you a little gift. You'll get some of these tools, like the 9 stages, the 5 drivers, and things like that would help you. So those are some of the traits that I would have. I want to finish up one last question. Which one should I go? Let's see. So the last question would be, why should I build a business that I can sell instead of just creating a business that makes me just enough money? So that's a great question. So I'm going to reference 2 books, 2 of my favorite books, E-Myth by Michael Gerber and Built to Sell by John Warlow. In the book E-Myth by Michael Gerber, he talks about the 3 types of business personalities: the technician, the manager, and the entrepreneur. I won't go into too much specifics. I can talk about this again in next week's episode. But essentially, it says there's 3 personalities that a business owner has to manage, and that is the technical mindset, the management mindset, and the entrepreneur mindset. And it goes on to talk about how you can build a business that can be like a franchise, that the first customer experience is the exact same experience as the 1,000th customer. And so that's creating a business that's duplicatable, delegatable, scalable, and all those 9 yards. And so that, I think, is amazing. So regardless of what size business you have, it should be duplicatable, delegatable, scalable. But then when you go into John Warlow's Built to Sell, it's not really about selling the business as much as it's having a business that can run without you. I've owned several businesses over the years, that you've heard me say in previous episodes. My first business, I practically gave it away. It really wasn't a business, it was a job. It was able to pay my bills to get me to the next level of my life. And so I considered it a job, right? Because it ran with me and it could not run without me. But then my next business that I sold as is. In other words, I had somebody running it for me. It could run without me, but it couldn't grow without me. And so I sold that for, a fair price. But it wasn't until my third business that I realized the power of building a business that can sell. And what I was able to do is I sold that for a lot of money, because not only could it run without me, it could grow without me. So when the person came and approached me and said, I want to buy your business, I said to them, it makes me a lot of money. It can run without me. It's going to be a premium price. And they said, I want it. And so I sold it. And so I think the key thing is asking yourself, what kind of business do you want to have? Do you want to have a job, a lifestyle business that just pays you enough money, and that's fine? Do you want to have enough money to be able to put money away for the future? Or do you want to have a business that can make a big impact in the lives of the people that work with you, work around you, and your community? That's up to you to decide. And so hopefully that answers your question. So as we finish up this section, I can't thank you guys enough for joining me. If you're still sticking around for the Q&A part, please send more questions. I still have more that I didn't get to today, and I'll get to in future episodes. So those, I love those because they're specific in nature, and I love to not, I always say knowledge is not power, it's applied knowledge that makes a difference. So the challenge is specific to the responses. So again, I can't thank you enough for joining us and sharing the secrets to success in business, from going from micro to millions to building a better business to build a better life. I'm Jim Roman, your host. The more you grow and the more you know, the more we will prosper. Thanks again. I will see you in our next episode. And stay tuned. Thank you so much. I love you guys. Have a great one. Comment below, subscribe, and please share this video with people that will make a difference. Have a great day.